Welcome back everyone to Oulton Park, the international circuit, about to play host to round number 2 of the TCR UK Championship. Race 1 took place earlier on today and was utterly dominated by Chris Smiley in his Restart Racing Honda Civic Type R. However, things change quickly in TCR and we have a top 10 grid reversal for race number 2. So the driver that finished 10th in race number 1 starts on pole position for the second race of the day. And that driver is this man, Jamie Tonks, in the Area Motorsport with Fast R Cupra. And the news gets better for that team because his teammate is alongside. Jess Hawkins will be starting alongside in the second of those black and gold Cupras. And they're going to be working together, I'm sure, to try and hang on to that track position. Andy McEwen up here in the commentary box. Paul O'Neill back with me again. And Paul, you've had more time than I have probably to catch up with drivers after race 1. Most people, I think, pretty happy. A couple of mechanical issues here and there, but generally still a good atmosphere around the paddock and people looking forward to this first reverse grid race of the season. Yeah,
everyone seems to be pretty happy. Thought the driving standards were exemplary, absolutely brilliant first race. Really did see the best of a lot of the drivers out there. No big contact, no turning people round. Exactly what we wanted to show off in this TCR UK series, and great stuff for Area Motorsport, like you said. Jamie Tonks on the pole. The good thing about that is that he's in a DSG car, the only DSG gearboxed car. Bit of a conventional gearbox as opposed to the sequential that's in the other cars. And the great thing about that is we know last year Bruce Winfield used to make electric getaways, and I know from speaking to Jamie he'd already made up 2 places on the grid from the first race, so he's going to get away, I think, pretty well, and hopefully take Jess Hawkins, his teammate, with him. But yeah, a few problems, wasn't there? Lewis Kent, that car getting stronger and stronger. It's I think they're going to make a lot of changes now because they've got a race run under their belt.
Yeah, that was the first race that they've done with this new Veloster, and he was running out of front tyres, I think, towards the end. So he said they were going to make quite a few setup changes and try to make progress here from the reversed grid. Lewis, a real racer, likes getting his elbows out and getting stuck in. Bradley Kent, we saw in Strife. I mean, everything on that car has broken this weekend, it seems. Bradley Kent has just had all of the bad luck. His teammates have been fine, but Brad's car has broken down at least twice, maybe 3 times this weekend. They were hunting around to get the part they needed to get that car back out there. I think they've managed it. The car is on the grid. Go on, Paul.
Yeah, I just put my hand up to you, mate, because the reason that car's on the grid, I'm going to take full credit for it, because I give them Matt Neal's mobile number, and Matt Neal had some X-Track gearbox parts for the car. They couldn't get anywhere. Fair play to Team Dynamics and Matt Neal and Barry Plowman. They were working on Bank Holiday Monday, sorting out the race cars for the weekend coming up, and they said, we'll get you up there and we'll sort you out an X-Track gearbox part. So that is the reason that Bradley is on the grid.
There we go. Okay, well, that is... I didn't know that. Thank you, Matt, because we want Brad out there. We know he's exciting and we know that he should be able to come through from the back of the grid with a healthy car. So that is good news indeed. In fact, the goodwill gestures surrounding Essex and Kent Motorsport continue because they have helped get Andy Wilmot on the grid for this race. You may remember Andy whacked the tyre stack down at the Knickerbrook corner. He too was needing parts to be able to get the car back out there for the second race, and he got them from Essex and Kent Motorsport. So rival teams, Paul, chipping in to help each other out. It's all part of this big picture thinking we've been talking about this weekend. They all want the championship to be as strong as possible, and getting Andy out on the grid was an important part of that.
Yeah, definitely. You know, there's a lot of these teams have struggled to get the cars on the grid full stop, and some of the cars are running around with wraps on that are not meant for the car at the minute, as in the colour scheme and things, because they're just trying to get out there. But that always happens in motorsport. I was walking in this morning, and it's really cool to see so many people here and be able to get so close to them and talk to them, because I know it's a cliche, but as a motorsport family, we'll do anything for each other. So I just love that about motorsport. Everybody wants to see these cars racing. They want to see as many cars on the grid as they can, and the fans are counted in that too. It's great. It really is a cool atmosphere here for round 1.
Yeah, lots of people trackside. There are lots of people here this weekend because it's a British GT event, but a lot of them that have been off getting lunch or wandering around the paddock are back trackside for our second TCR UK race, and with good reason, because this one I'm sure it's going to be an absolute cracker. Give a group of touring car drivers a reversed grid race, and it's always going to be exciting. There you can see just a snippet of the crowd. I mean, the cars parked as far as the eye can see, and each and every one of those people have their eyes trained on the circuit, because the green flag lap is underway for round 2 of the TCR UK Championship then, and they'll get everyone off the grid and then have a look through the way that grid lines up. Looking out the window, I can see a few of these stragglers, those that had issues in race 1 continuing, including the Subaru about Walt Neils. It was a turbo issue that took them out of the first race. He was losing power from within the first couple of minutes of the race, so they're confident they've got that fixed and should be able to make progress. Brad Hutchinson was a drive shaft breakage. We've had a few of them this weekend. Oulton Park always is hard on drive shafts, so the blue and white Audi back out there at the tail end of the grid, and we documented Andy Wilmot's issues, the damage that he sustained. They've got the Hyundai fixed and back out on circuit. So, cars making their way around on the green flag lap then. Jamie Tonks, as I said, on pole position with Jess Hawkins alongside, the two Area Motorsport with Fastar teammates on the front row. The two cars look near identical, but as Paul said, Tonks' car with the DSG gearbox should have an advantage off the line, but does struggle a bit at some of the faster parts of the circuit. So he might hold the lead at the start, but how much longer he holds it, we'll have to wait and see. Jack Depper's Golf is third alongside Callum Newsham, who lines up alongside him on the second row. Another Cupra next, the Powermax Racing example of Jack Constable with the double reigning champion, number 1 Lewis Kent, in the Veloster Hyundai alongside. Bruce Winfield then 7th on the grid alongside Isaac Smith, who had a fuel pickup issue throughout the entirety of race 2, had no acceleration out of any right-handers to clockwise circuit, so clearly that was going to hurt him. Amazing, really, that he managed to finish third at the end of the race, keeping Max Hart at bay for much of the 25 minutes. Max got him in the end, finished second, so starts 9th for this one, alongside the race 1 winner and championship leader, Chris Smiley. Matthew Wilson just missing out on the race 2 pole position. He's 11th on the grid alongside Adam Shepherd. He lost power steering very early in the first race, which led to his off at Cascade, and I think another off-track excursion later on. Darryl Wilson's Astra is on the 7th row alongside Mr. Pickles, Scott Sumpton. I will get round to explaining that nickname at some point, I promise. And they are on the 7th row together, Vauxhall alongside Hyundai. Russell Joyce in the Cooper TCR is next. Steve Gale's Audi, one of 3 Audis entered this weekend. We've got 2 of them on the grid. Sadly, no Hugo Cook racing after mechanical issues on Saturday. Simon Tomlinson's Cupra is next alongside Kieran Griffin's Golf, and then we start getting into those that had issues in race 1. Chris Wallace was the last of the finishers. Wilmot went off at Knickerbrook, as we said. Breaking the right front corner of that car. Walt Neil's turbo issue. Bradley Kent had, I think it was a gear box issue in the previous race, so he starts 22nd. Never did get to the bottom of Rob Butler's issue, but he's back on track, starting 23rd, with Bradley Hutchinson's Audi 24th that broke a drive shaft in the previous race.
Yeah, so Rob Butler, I did have a little chat to him, and he was annoyed with me because I said he's a guy to watch, and then he had a failure. I think it was a ball joint on the car, okay. So some kind of suspension damage. So yeah, that ruled him out. Jack Depper in your picture in the 33. I think he's going to get some kind of podium or win pretty early on in the year. He's just getting himself back in there in that car. He was pretty good at the end of last year, so we'll see how he gets on. But I tell you what, the area guys and girls will be sitting here thinking this is either going to be absolutely amazing or absolutely horrendous, because a lot of the guys at the back in 9 and 10 who are on the back end of the reverse grid, you'd think that they'd be looking for the win, but they're telling me they just want to finish and get points. So that shows you how close this is going to be.
I've heard drivers say that before, though, and then the red lights go on and the red mist descends, doesn't it? So we'll see how much progress they are able to make from the back of the top 10. They clearly had the pace, the likes of Smiley and Smith and Hart in the previous race, but now they've got some overtaking to do. Right then, 25 minutes on the clock, round number 2 of the 2022 TCR UK Championship, about to burst into life here at Oulton Park. The revs start to rise, the red lights go on, they go out. Now we're away and racing for the second time today. Is it a good start as expected from the pole sitter? Looks like it is, but Jess Hawkins very much going with him. In fact, Hawkins with her nose ahead, and Jess Hawkins gets the lead into the first corner. Jack Constable goes second, and slotting into third place is Tonks. Max Hart wide over the curb. Do they all get through safely? Just about. They're 2 and 3 wide down the avenue. Lewis Kent looking up the inside line. It's Hawkins that leads the way. Constable second, and Callum Newsham up into third.
Wow, look at that. So they've got their eye in now after that first race start, haven't they? And Chris Smiley making a lot of moves there in the FK7 Honda. I did notice he made a cracking start and did 2 off the line, but Jess Hawkins, absolutely amazing. This is the first fast corner they'll come up to. Everyone leaning on that rear tyre. Looks okay. Max Hart looking into the back of Callum Newsham there. Safety car, there must have something must have happened, is it?
Oh, on the start line, I think, yes. So there's been a bit of an incident at the start. We'll get to that in a moment. The safety car is being scrambled, but that means good news, really, for Jess Hawkins, because it means that she now has a chance to bring these tyres up to temperature and pressure a little bit more quickly. There is Kieran Griffin, so he's the car we can see out of the window, pointing the wrong way, actually, on the pit straight. Oh, and Bradley Kent's in the barriers. What a nightmare start to the championship for Bradley Kent. We expected him, Paul, to be up there fighting for the championship. This is not going to be the ideal start. In fact, we believe he's not gone off. He's pulled off down Lakeside, perhaps a legacy of the issue in race 1. But if it wasn't for bad luck, Bradley Kent would have no luck at all.
He's had an awful weekend so far, hasn't he? Even in testing, he was telling me today he's had problem after problem. So that's absolutely awful. But I'm glad to see the car isn't badly damaged, but he's out the race, and that is a total nightmare.
It is. It really is. That's such a shame for Bradley Kent, and big things expected from him. They do get dropped scores over the season, so it's not the end of the world if you have a couple of bad races, but certainly not going to help his championship cause, because we now have more points on offer, 40 points for a race win, so a maximum of more than 80 points available over any given weekend. A double DNF to start the season is not what you want. So the safety car is out then. The marshals and recovery crews dealing with Kieran Griffin, who I think is the only car off on the pit straight. We know we lost Bradley Kent further round the lap. Hawkins leads, Constable second, Newsham third, with Max Hart fourth. Hart and Smith made really good progress there, Paul. From the back of the top 10, they're both in the top 5 already. Yeah, they haven't been messing around, have they? Smith and Hart up in 5th and 4th, like you're rightly saying. They really, I thought Chris Smiley had made a fantastic start. He was up to 7th. And Oulton Eels in your picture, the number 11, that car having a failure in the first race, but that was a turbo failure, and now it looks like they've got on top of that, and he's up to 40. That's typical of Oulton Eels making a great start, and that's all coming off the back of his short oval experience, I'm sure. Yes, the school of hard knocks, as David Addison would say if he were up here with us. Yes, Oulton Eels a real racer, and it was a real shame that he had that turbo issue, because he could easily have ended up near the front of the grid for this second race, but was losing power from pretty early on. Right, let's piece this together. Kieran Griffin is towards the back of the field. There's a slow starter, Paul. That was Steve Gales, I think. And then what can you see? Looks like, interesting. Wilmot, isn't it? There was Wilmot was involved in that. So that was started by Gales maybe, because he was slow. 2 cars went either side of him, which you rightly call was Wilmot and Kieran Griffin. So what we're going to see here, maybe left of your picture, does he get the squeeze? Oh, they're 5 wide. Yeah, exactly. So they just cut across each other. Oh, that's a real shame, that. There's no malice in that from where I'm looking. This is then the rest of lap 1 going into Cascades, turn 3. And look at that, 2 abreast. That's how you do it. Getting alongside each other. And then do we see anything of Bradley Kent, who we think just pulls away? But yeah, then into Shell Oils, Darrell Wilson in the green Astra, and he's giving it the big one on the way there. Don't know what happened to Jack Depper, because he'd lost a lot of ground even by the time they got to Cascades, hadn't he? So he'd had a bad start, or perhaps an issue through the first corner. That's a shame, because again, Depper was one of those we expected to be at the pointy end. He started at the pointy end in this one, of course, third on the grid. Didn't stay there for long, though, unfortunately. So Jess Hawkins then leads her first laps in TCR UK. And she is, I think I'm right in saying, the first female driver to lead a lap in the championship. We've had the likes of Jessica Bettman, for example, racing with her brother back in the first year, but she never led a lap that year. So Jess Hawkins making her own little bit of TCR racing history here, and leading the first couple now, because we're behind the safety car. Jack Constable was on it, though, on that race start, as was Callum Newsham. But I'm intrigued to watch these 2 cars here, the green, white and black Hyundai and the blue and white Golf of Isaac Smith, who I spoke to for the first time, actually, in person anyway, between races, Paul. And when he told me about this fuel pickup issue they had, I was even more impressed. I was already impressed with his pace, but how he held off Max Hart for that long when he said he was down to 1 or 2% throttle, exiting every right-hander through the whole race. How do you do that? It did make sense, that, because if you watched him into Cascades at down the bottom, the left-hander,
He did take so much speed into the corners, but then lost on the way out, and another left-handers weren't the biggest problem, but especially into Lodge, that's where he lost the actual place to Max Hart, wasn't it? So the overlap come from having no throttle coming out of Lodge. So yeah, impressive that. But when you do have that problem, you just try to take more speed in, bleed off the brakes quicker, and fire the momentum in. So the race starts again.
Yeah, so in the background you can see there's a slow start for Steve Gales. I think that's what kind of bottles everyone up. Wilmot's on the grass there to the right and ends up getting spat across into Kieran Griffin. So just too many drivers going for too small a space, really.
Yeah, it looked like, to be fair to Gales, it's not his fault, but he's seen the car on his left on the grass. He's then been pushed and moved over. We'll see probably better from the rear angle, but it's a great angle, this, to be fair. But you can see, Kieran Griffin won't know this, but look, he's trying to get back on the grass, Andy Wilmot, goes across Gales, but as he goes across Gales, he fires Kieran Griffin across the front of him, so that could have been a lot worse.
A minor miracle there on a few counts. How Brad Hutchinson missed it, I'll never know. And Andy Wilmot completely spun the wrong way, foot hard on the accelerator, spun it wrong, carried on like nothing had happened. That was some good car control.
Knowing Andy Wilmot, he probably doesn't even know he's spun or had contact.
That's the line he's supposed to take off the start, right?
But yeah, I'm just so glad that when you have an accident like that, sometimes if a car stops side on, it's never the best thing in the world. No. So I'm just glad to see everybody is okay, especially Kieran, who ended up in the wall.
Yes, and it looks like that recovery process is pretty much complete, so I'm hoping we'll get the race back underway this time. I can't see any marshals on the track out of my window, so hopefully we'll get the race back underway this time. Good news for us, perhaps less good news for Jess Hawkins, who's now got some defending to do, but Jess impressed a lot of people with her qualifying pace, qualifying in the top 10 on Saturday, and racing solidly to that ninth place finish earlier on today. There's Andy Wilmot. Now, you would question how straight all of the corners on that car are after that, but actually, despite it being quite a big hit, they do make these TCR cars strong, don't they? I think you might be okay.
Actually looks better than when it left its grid box, to be fair, so it must have knocked it into shape, but no, fair play. The only problem he'll have, Andy, and as you know, he's got 4 flat-spotted tyres, and that's going to rattle about, especially this early on.
Right then, let's go racing again, shall we? Take 2, safety car pulling in. Jess Hawkins now has to execute a good restart, and looks like she has, actually. She gets a couple of car lengths over Jack Constable coming out of Lodge. Really good restart that. Look at Smiley on the tail of Jamie Tonks further back. That could be the first move into Old Hall Corner. We're back underway with 17 minutes left on the clock, and Jamie Tonks defends the inside line. The race 1 winner and early championship leader, Chris Smiley, on the attack, pulls to the right-hand side. He's got Lewis Kent right behind him as well, and they run door-to-door for 6th position through the avenue, through Denton's. Smiley goes through. Nice move, and an important move, that pull, as Tonks gets wide on the grass, and that is a shame for Jamie. He was doing well.
Ah, he really was, yeah, but he got caught out on the restart. A bit of sleep, to be fair, as you can see. Look at this, Constable wants that lead. She'll be out the throttle. Jess Hawkins for the lead there, but everybody having a nightmare with maybe a cold right rear into that fast left-hander.
Yeah, Callum Newsham with a wobble goes from 3rd down to 5th, so that's another place gain for Max Hart and Isaac Smith. They're 3rd and 4th respectively now. This, though, is for the race lead, and those two I just mentioned, Hart and Smith, will be watching this battle and hoping that Jess Hawkins can fend off Jack Constable for a bit, because that will allow those two to gain ground on the top 2 and make this a 4-way fight for the victory. It is Hawkins that leads the way. It's Constable behind her, but look at the way that the 3rd and 4th place cars are gaining already. Yeah,
I tell you what, Jessica Hawkins has now got big decisions to make. She's going to either have to back Constable into Newsham and Hart and Smith, but can she just get away? That is going to be the difficult one. She's just got to see where the strengths and weaknesses are in her car. Look at Constable. He needs to get past now, because he can look in his mirror and he can see Hart right with him.
Good exit from Druids from both of them, actually. Constable didn't really gain anything there on Jess, who will perhaps feel the need to move to defend into Lodge Corner. No, Constable not close enough in the background. Smiley is very much close enough to Callum Newsham, so this is for 5th position. The championship, you feel, will be won and lost in these reverse grid races, and Chris Smiley is fully aware of that, wants to make some progress early on while he can. Back across the line, 4 laps completed. Hawkins continuing to lead and not over-defending at the moment, Paul. I'm quite impressed. She's just driving her own line, minding her business. If Constable attacks, she will cover, but she's not driving ultra-defensively.
I'd say she's got some mighty speed into Cascades, but look at that. She doesn't run out too wide either. She's not defended yet, but she's going to have to pretty soon, I think. Oh, no, Gale's off.
That's Lodge, I think. Yes, now is it beached? It doesn't look beached. It may be stalled, though, possibly.
Yeah.
Let's hope we don't get another safety car. Marshall's running over to that car. We did expect a few more incidents in the reverse grid race, but we'll hope that he can get that car moved. I noticed into the pit lane has come Andy Wilmot, by the way, so we've lost him from the race now. Perhaps there was damage, understandably, after the race start incident. Smiley then coming through, just ahead of Adam Shepherd now, and Lewis Kent. In fact, Kent has got past Shepherd, hasn't he? That's what's changed there. So you've got Smiley into 6th, Kent up into 7th place, but it is now very much a leading trio, isn't it? Hawkins and Constable joined by Max Hart, and we know that Hart will not back down from a fight.
That's not good news for us then. So that car has been left. It's a safety car, comes straight out for that. That's a shame. That it looks like he can't fire it up, because you'd think that would be an easy car to get gone. I tell you what's impressive, mate. Forget about the car in the gravel. Jessica Hawkins, she has not defended once yet, and this is the place she would defend, as she'll race now to the safety car boards, which she's seen now, so she doesn't have to defend. But when you start defending, especially into Lodge, that's when it's game over, because the cutback then comes at the first corner Old Hall and carries on through Cascades, and the job's done. So great stuff from Jess. She made an amazing restart before. She made them all look a bit silly, to be fair. They were a bit asleep, weren't they, at the back? The only person I've seen that made a mega restart was Jess Hawkins in the lead and Chris Smiley, who will be used to restarts from previous championships he's raced in.
Yeah, exactly, and he used that to good effect, didn't he, to gain a place early on, but these safety cars not helping him really, because he's struggling to make progress through the field with the regular interruptions. Now remember how I said Andy Wilmot had been in the pit lane? It was about the time that Steve Gales went off, and I reckon they may have come together there.
Maybe. I mean, there's a lot of damage on Wilmot's front left, and there was quite a bit of diffuser damage on the rear of Gales' car, but listen, we don't know, do we? So, but yeah, that was a very, that looks like it's hit something, isn't it? But that's on the...
Well, this is from the start line incident on the right. I think it's the front left that's now been got because of the moment there with Gales, I reckon. There was certainly contact after Gales had gone round, if nothing else, as Wilmot tried to avoid him. So if we continue to pan round, we'll see the left-hand side sort of matching the right, actually. That's where the attention is now. And what are they doing here, Paul? I think the bumper had come loose, hadn't it?
Yeah, it's that tape mostly fixes most things. I mean, look at the look at the splitter. The splitter's actually holding the car together there. So, well, it'll be interesting to see if he gets it out, because that looked like quite a bit of damage, didn't it?
Did indeed. So another pause in the race then. 12 minutes still to go, and Jess Hawkins leading the way still, has led every lap of this so far, having beaten her teammate Jamie Tonks into turn 1. Tonks, we saw having that moment at Cascades, one of the few people to benefit from this safety car, because he catches back up to the tail of the group. He's just coming over hilltop behind the pink and white car of Scott Sumter. Right, Mr. Pickles, would you like to know the story?
Yeah, well, the only Pickles I know is James Pickford, who's a really good mate of mine, and we call him Pickles, but go on.
Well, so apparently this is what Scott Sumter, 17 years old, youngest driver on the grid, family friend of the Kents, apparently. They all went to the same school, so their families know each other. And apparently that's what his mum calls him, Mr. Pickles. No matter who's around, what company he's in, it's Mr. Pickles. When she rings him on the phone, it's Mr. Pickles. And so on his wing mirrors are 2 little green pickles with his face on it. It's one of the best things I've ever seen, and I'm so glad I've had the chance to embarrass him with that story now live on air.
It sounds very southern, mate, very southern.
Which indeed sort of sums that team up, really. Right then, out of Lodge we go, safety car back in, and Jess Hawkins with an even better restart. Look at the gap she's got. Max Hart is almost pushing Jack Constable across the line for second place as they head to Old Hall Corner. He goes to the outside, Isaac Smith on the inside of both of them. Bales out of it side by side for second, and Max Hart keeps his foot in it round the outside. They bang doors once, twice. On the grass goes the Irishman, but he's got the inside line for Cascades and goes through. Fantastic.
What a move. Max Hart just gets it done. And look at that, Isaac Smith trying to follow him through as well. Jack Constable's been nobbled, hasn't he? He's all the way back down there, but look at this pack. If Jess Hawkins looks in her mirror now, she will not believe what she's seeing. This is epic touring car stuff. Look at them go.
And excellent news, as you say, for the race leader, because she is scooting away. What a brilliant restart. She was 1.8 seconds ahead at the line off a safety car restart. That is one of the best restarts I have ever seen. And Jess Hawkins, look, she's gone. However, she's got 2 of the fastest drivers on the grid chasing her down, and they've still got 10 minutes in which to get there. Hart into second, Smith into third, Constable third, and there is Lewis Kent behind Adam Shepherd now. It's just not quite working yet for Lewis, is it?
No, not at all. Did I just see a flash of the headlights?
Oh, it's Constable. Constable slow, Paul, sorry to interrupt, slow over the top of the hill. You may be right about Smith flashing the lights, but Constable, I'm afraid, is heading for retirement up here.
That, I was going to say, it's you cannot make a restart like Jack Constable did without a problem, because that was ridiculous. But he's helped Jessica out there, hasn't he? That's a proper good effort.
Yes, he has indeed. They make their way up through Druid's corner. There is Constable sat at the side of the road and going no further, as we've seen. So Constable gets out of the car. What a shame for the man who won a race here last year. And fortunately, now luckily that's down the runoff area at his lot. We shouldn't need a safety car to get that car out of the way. I hope not, because this has got the makings of a terrific race. The lead gap is 2.4 seconds. Jess Hawkins sets the fastest lap. Jack Constable's trying to diagnose the problem already, or perhaps let the engine cool down. Maybe an overheating issue? Yeah,
it looks very hot, doesn't it? But yeah, not a bad thing to just get the engine cover up and hopefully it doesn't catch fire and we can just crack on. But look at that. What was that? Was that the windscreen?
It was the window.
It was the window. A proper Dukes of Hazzard spec now, isn't it, from Callum Newsham? So window gone. That won't be a problem. They shouldn't give him any kind of meatball flag for that technical infringement problem on the car. It would be absolutely fine, that. But look at Smiley on the back of him in that Honda. That car through the fast stuff is absolutely unbelievable. But this is 8.5 minutes of probably Jessica Hawkins's best race of her life ever. She's got to get this done. She's going to be on the podium, hopefully, but I'd love to see her win this.
Smiley on the grass into Britons makes a real mess of the chicane, and here comes Adam Shepherd. First mistake all weekend out of Chris Smiley, that, and it doesn't actually cost him a place just yet. And of course, there are double waved yellows down at his lops. That saved his bacon there, and Adam Shepherd's, because Lewis Kent was closing on the pair of them. But Chris just dipped a wheel on the grass coming into Britons, had a big moment. There goes the window. How do you keep the race one winner behind you? You start throwing things at him. It didn't really deter Chris Smiley. Aero-wise, will that have an effect? It shouldn't do, should it?
It will a bit, actually. It'll just buff it inside the car a bit, but it'll just put you off, if anything. But it's better to be gone than to just be sticking there and give you a problem. But I'm just glad to see it go on the grass and not go into the crowd or go into any other car. So, yeah, these are special windows as well. But look at the gap. This is game on.
Yeah, not 2.4 seconds anymore between Hawkins and Hart, but she's only got to defend for 7 minutes or so. Across the line they will go. We're watching Chris Smiley here ahead of Adam Shepherd. The lead gap down to 1 second, because it's a 1:42.8 for Max Hart, new fastest lap of the race. And on that particular lap, 1.4 seconds faster than the race leader, Adam Shepherd over the curves. But there is the gap between the top two. I mean, this is not Jess going slowly. They're both pulling away from the rest. It's just Max Hart is on a mission. We know how quick he is. He's gapped Isaac Smith, and he's chasing down the race leader.
Yeah, and he's going to have to make a go for this pretty early on, because we've seen that Jess can defend as good as anybody. But if I was Jess, I'd play the long game, let him through maybe as quick as I could and just latch on the back of him and try and get a podium.
You'd pass up the chance to win your first TCR UK race, would you? I don't know if Jess is going to agree with you there. I think she's going to make this a very wide Cupra to try and keep Max Hart behind. I see your point. I just don't think that's what we're going to see play out over the next 6.5 minutes, because Max Hart will not back down from a fight, and Jess Hawkins has a bit of a point to prove here, I think. Not many people were talking about her as being a regular race winner, at least not this early in the season. Yes, it's a reverse grid race, but when you've got the race lead, you've got to try and bag that win when you can. You don't get that many opportunities to win races, especially given how competitive the grid is this season. They go over Clay Hill. There they go. First, second. Gap back to Isaac Smith in third position. Hart is on her. Where does he make the move, Paul?
I don't think he'll pass her into Lodge, but she will have to defend at Lodge, so that's going to open it up for maybe the first corner. Look at that. She's got a good run through Druid. To be fair, I might take that back, you know, because she has not made one mistake or looked as though she's going to be put under pressure so quickly. That was a whole lap of him catching fast. What are the lap times? It was a 1.4 second delta, wasn't it, last time? And now it's 7 tenths he took out of her, so not as much as it was the first lap. If she can control this will be brilliant, but if she can back him up as well into the other cars, then it might be game on. But I just think Hart will try something really, really quick and try and get it done early.
Yeah, of course, Hart will be thinking championship as well to an extent here. A race win is great, but you still get 35 points for finishing in second place, plus a bonus point for the fastest lap, which he has. So at the moment, he's only losing 4 points to Jessica, and he's probably not that concerned about that. He's ahead of Isaac Smith, he's ahead of Chris Smiley, he's ahead of the Kents. So a good points day up for grabs here for Max anyway. Is it worth that really risky kind of 50-50 lunge for the lead, especially given the fact that he will expect Jess to defend this as if her life depends on it.
She's very good through this part of the circuit. She's got good change of direction in that car, and I must admit, like you say, he probably doesn't want to do anything silly. He's in a fantastic position. He's had a good weekend already. He might just want to finish, but if he sniffs a win, like he got to the back of her so fast, this is where if you're close enough and you make someone defend into Druids, which she's going to have to do, that's when it becomes lodged then into turn one, where the pass can be made. But she's doing such a sterling job. She deserves to win this, you know.
Absolutely. You can make a case for either of them, couldn't you? Max Hart coming through from 9th on the grid, of course, made all that progress in the first lap or so, but now he's right on the tail of Jessica Hawkins, and maybe for the first time this race she may have to defend. Look at Max weaving left, right in the mirrors. Not even phased. She didn't even think about moving right to defend into Lodge Corner, even with all of those distractive tactics behind from Max Hart. They come across the line with 4 minutes left on the clock, still in the same order, and nothing at the moment is ruffling Jess Hawkins.
I can't take sides, obviously, in this, but please, Jessica, win, because this would be one of the best things I've ever commentated on. She is doing an absolutely sterling job. This is textbook of how to drive a front-wheel drive car, not put yourself in a position to be overtaken. Looks like he's got the run now, but she's never defended once aggressively. That's why they're both running away at the front. Hart has never raced against Jessica Hawkins that I know of, so he's treating her with kid gloves. It ain't going to be a move done here. Stick him on the outside. Go on, stick him right up that bank, because that is not going to work. Go on, Jess.
Oh, Max Hart tried it, but there's no grip out there. We're deep into a day of racing now. There's lots of marbles from the tyres, lots of dirt and gravel out there, so no grip for Max. He slots back in behind again. Hawkins needs to concentrate getting out of these corners as quickly as possible. There you can see the young Irishman, one of the most determined drivers on the grid, and he is not going to give up here at all. In the background, it's still Isaac Smith in third, with Callum Newsham and Chris Smiley catching him, so that's a fight to keep an eye on. But understandably, this is where eyes are trained right now. The fight for the race lead, the fight for the race win, with what will be 2 laps to go at the end of this one.
I tell you what, mate, I will take back everything I said. Is that Rob Butler off the Cascades?
Straight on into the gravel. You can see the tyre marks. Rob running back to the car. They could cover that under yellows, maybe, for the last 2 laps, he says, hopefully. Don't want another safety car, really. Out of Druids they go. It is only 1 corner, and it's a long way off the track, Paul.
It's a long way off the track, and if there is double waved yellows, it'll be amazing for Jess, but would they finish this under a safety car? Either way, that girl deserves to win this race. I love Max Hart, but I'll tell you what, she has shown in the way. That's a big spin at Druids.
Daryl Wilson, I think.
Daryl Wilson, I'm glad to see that not in the barriers. So there's no safety car yet. Jade Edwards has just messaged me, who's a good friend of our race leader, Jess Hawkins, saying, my heart is in my mouth, in capitals, my heart's in my mouth, because this is brilliant TCR racing. They have gapped the rest of the field. Brilliant.
Heart in her mouth. She's got a heart in her wing mirrors as well, because Max Hart is not going to relinquish this here, is he? He's going to try and get the win if he can. Looks as though we're covering that under yellow flags, which is excellent news. Hart actually dropping back a little bit at the start of this lap, so not as close this time as he was a lap ago into Shell. No side-by-side antics on this occasion. I was about to say how well Adam Shepherd's doing, by the way. Power steering issues sorted by the looks of it, up into 6th position. But he's just been given a 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits, and that will drop him down the order slightly, or it may do. He's on the back of this group. He might actually, no, he's not quite 5 seconds ahead of Lewis Kent, is he? So that is going to be, unfortunately, a loss of positions. Out of the window, by the way, I can see yellow flags at Lodge, so Darragh Wilson's Astra, having gone off at Druids, I think has pulled off on the entry to Lodge Corner. Another overtaking opportunity, Paul, that's now out of commission. Yeah, it's double waved, isn't it, as well, so we'll see how they get on with that. But the clock counting down now, and Jessica Hawkins, I'm waxing lyrical here, but this, honestly, for your first weekend of tin top racing, Max Hart, multiple race winner, could have won the championship. He won't win this race if he does that again. Into Druids in 5th gear, bounce in the rear of that Hyundai everywhere. Look, not even. Oh, she's sliding a bit there. That rear left looked like it was giving up, but there is double waved yellows there. But I tell you what, it was close. Oh, that's Callum Newsham going past Isaac Smith before the yellows, I think. just, but as they went side by side, so Chris Smiley has caught them. Look, and Smiley is alongside Smith now. I wonder if Smith's fuel pickup issues are returning because he's lost 2 places in quick succession. Back up the inside of Smiley and Old Hall. Yes, what a move from Isaac Smith. Adam Shepherd can't pounce because he's wide himself. Onto the final lap of the race. Yellow flags down at Cascades, and Callum Newsham goes back ahead. That was good driving. Now, here are the race leaders. Jess Hawkins has to defend for her life now. There are still yellows at Lodge, so at the moment, the best overtaking opportunity on the circuit is not available to Max Hart. So where does Max Hart make this move? Let's see what he can do. Through the Shell hairpin, closes right in on Jess Hawkins and heads down towards the Britain chicane. This isn't really a place to pass, but a good exit from here for Max could bring him into striking range down to the Hislop chicane, and he gets a really good exit. He's over the curbs. Hawkins will have to defend, surely. You can expect Max Hart to throw it up the inside. If she doesn't, to the middle of the road she goes, back to the outside. Max weaving left, right, can't find the gap, and still the Fast R liveried Area Motorsport prepared Cupra is hanging on from the Jam Sport run Hyundai i30N out of Knickerbrook Corner. The yellows are in at Lodge Corner. The last corner is once again an overtaking opportunity. Over Clay Hill we come. It's not the next corner. This is where the move has to begin for Max Hart. A good exit from Druids could put him into striking distance at Lodge, and Hawkins is a bit wide at the first apex. Hart carries much more speed through the corner. Hawkins surely has to defend this time. She moves to the middle of the road, but Max Hart is a demon on the brakes. Is he going to go for it? No, he's not. He settles in line. Hawkins into the right-hander, and for the first time in TCR UK history, we have a female race winner, and in her second ever race in the championship, Jess Hawkins wins at Oulton Park in a fabulous display of defensive driving. Max Hart comes home in second. What a race.
Oh, wow. I never watched the end of the race because I've got to go for the podium presentation, but that was amazing. Jessica Hawkins, you hero. See you in a minute.
Fantastic. Right, Paul's going to dash to Parc Ferme and try and have a word with Jess Hawkins. I really hope he gets the time to. Callum Newsham comes home, by the way, in third ahead of Isaac Smith, fourth, who did keep Chris Smiley out of that fourth place. Smiley ends up fifth, Lewis Kent in sixth. Jack Depper recovered nicely to seventh. He was well out of the top 10 at the halfway around the first lap. Then it's Adam Shepherd who drops to eighth with that 5-second penalty applied. Ninth, by the way, for Brad Hutchinson. Now, I'll have to chat to Paul about this after, but we have the duty of deciding who the Coord Sport driver of the day is. Jessica Hawkins is an obvious choice, but an outside bet is Brad Hutchinson, who DNF'd in race 1 because of a drive shaft issue, started 24th and last in this one, and came through for a top 10 finish. Excellent drive from the youngster, whilst the top 10 is rounded out by Matthew Wilson. He missed out on the 10th place in the last race and just about managed to get in there for that one. Oh, wow. Okay, need to lie down after that. Jess Hawkins, though, what an amazing drive. I sat down and chatted with her, did an interview with her on Saturday, actually, before qualifying, and she was very calm, very reserved, trying to keep her cards close to her chest and not wanting to let anybody know really what she expected pace-wise, because of course it's very easy to oversell yourself and say, yeah, I think I'll be up there winning races, getting podiums, and then if you under-deliver on that, people are very quick to point it out. Jess did not do that, but I'll tell you what, a race win, yes, in a reverse grid race, but a race win nonetheless, that will have got a few people's attention, and to fend off someone like Max Hart, he's one of the most aggressive drivers on the grid, and I mean that in a good way because that's what you need for touring car racing, but Max is known for going for some of those really late lunges on the brakes, some of those really aggressive moves. Wasn't able to do it. Jess Hawkins never made a mistake, and honestly what won her that race, as Paul was saying during the race, was the fact that she didn't defend, which sounds counterintuitive, but by not defending her lead, she actually didn't really need to defend it because she was good enough on the brakes to fend off the Hyundai driver. Jess Hawkins getting the very well-deserved applause from the Oulton Park crowd, who I think are going to be very, very happy. That will be one of the more popular wins we've had in the championship for quite some time. She becomes the 18th different driver to win a TCR UK race, and the 31st to get a podium for those who like boring nerdy stats like I do, but as I said, the first female race winner in the TCR UK Championship, and a lot is made sometimes of female drivers coming through in the motorsport ranks here in the UK, but Jess, a great example of the talent that she has there. I'm sure we'll see her go on to even more amazing things as the season goes on. Jess Hawkins wins then for Area Motorsport with Fast R. Max Hart's Jam Sport Hyundai is second place, and then Callum Newsham comes home in third position in his Cupra. Fourth for Isaac Smith. I suspect maybe an issue creeping in towards the end there. Chris Smiley, the race one winner, only able to get to fifth. So these reverse grid races, more competitive perhaps than some people gave them credit for. Lewis Kent is sixth, Jack Depper seventh, Adam Shepherd eighth after a 5-second track limits penalty, Brad Hutchinson ninth, and Matthew Wilson 10th ahead of Russell Joyce, Scott Sumpton, Jamie Tonks after that off at Cascades 13th. Antwort Niels gets the Subaru's first finish in the championship, having DNF'd earlier on today. And Bruce Winfield never got to the bottom of what was going on there, but he was deep in the field the whole time. And last year's championship runner-up, only 15th, 30 seconds off the pace. So there's a story to be told there. I'll try and have a chat with him before he leaves this afternoon. So that is how the field rounds out. Behind them, 16th was Simon Tomlinson, 17th Chris Wallace, 18th for Stephen Gales. But there is Jess Hawkins. Fist pumps all round down in the Parc Ferme area. And the Area Motorsport with Fast R team are ready and waiting to have a chat with her. And I think that's Max Hart, actually, up there at that area of the paddock as well. Yes, it is. Max will be frustrated that he didn't win, but he will be going to congratulate Jess very shortly, I'm sure. Ben Sharp there, former front runner, race winner, and I believe champion in the Honda Civic Cup. Need to get him in a TCR car soon, I think. I reckon he'd be pretty handy in them. He's been working with the area team this weekend and is there to congratulate Jess as well. Shame for Rob Butler, who hasn't had a weekend to remember, sadly, but that off at Cascades, didn't see what caused it, but the off at Cascades putting him out of the race, and he joins the list of non-finishers. So TCR UK well and truly on the map in 2022, this fifth season of the championship that has stumbled and struggled to get off the ground, admittedly, over recent years, but a big grid, great racing, and you really can't ask for much more than that, can you? I'm really excited to see how the rest of the season goes. For fans of British GT, if you enjoyed what you saw here today, get yourselves along to Donington Park on the 28th and 29th of May, because that will be the next TCR UK round, and it's the third event of the British GT calendar. That's the second and final time that TCR will be here with SRO and British GT, and I know they've really enjoyed being part of the package this weekend. So, yeah, looking forward to Donington Park. The rest of the calendar, by the way, you can head over to the TCR UK website, of course, for information on this, but we head to Brands Hatch on the 18th and 19th of June for a triple header race weekend. And on the 16th of July, we're back at Oulton Park on the Island Circuit, part of the Time Attack package. 6th of August, we're at Castle Combe. The 29th of August, we're at Donington Park National, and the 23rd of October it all finishes on the 200 circuit, the shorter of the two major layouts at Snetterton, and that will be our final round of the championship. And given what we've seen this weekend, I think it's a title fight that will go right down to the wire. So drivers all in Parc Ferme. I'm sure Paul O'Neill has sprinted his way down there, and hopefully we will shortly be able to have a chat with Jess Hawkins and possibly the rest of the podium finishers, because there are some real feel-good stories out of that. Not just Hawkins win, but Max Hart back on the podium. Hart's possibly going to be championship leader. I'll try and do some quick maths whilst we are hopefully hearing from Paul, and I'll be able to work that out. But it's going to be a close one, actually, because Max Hart had a two second places, so that's 70 points. Chris Smiley had a win, yes, but then only a fifth in race two, so I reckon Max Hart could be the early championship leader. So Jess Hawkins the winner. Championship wise, we're expecting more cars, of course, in the future too. We are at about 30 or 31 drivers signed up for the season, but it is Jess Hawkins on top here at Oulton Park. Let's hear from her now with Paul.
Oh my word. That was one of the best things I have seen for a long, long time. Jess Hawkins, TCR UK race winner at Oulton Park. Reminded me of my old win. Amazing. I'm crying.
I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. It's been a long time since I've felt this feeling, and I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for my sponsors, Faster. I don't even know what to say. I'm happy. I'm happy.
I've got an apology to make to you. In commentary, I said, he's caught her that quick, Max has. just let him through and follow him onto the podium. Andy in comms said, "Are you joking, mate? Jess will do the business." I've never seen defending like it and safety car restarts. How do you do that?
Yeah, that was nice. To be fair, I'd had it in my head what I was going to do. It should a safety car come out and I was in the lead, but I did the exact opposite of it. So I don't know, I just noticed that when he was there, he would have had to brake, so he wouldn't be able to overtake me. So that's when I went both times. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm really happy.
It was one of the most amazing things I've seen for a long time. Jess Hawkins, enjoy your evening. Well done. Andy, back to you.
See this Paul O'Neill fella, what does he know? Hey, I knew Jess was going to fight for that, and I'm really glad she did. Huge congratulations to Jess Hawkins, the whole Area Motorsport with Fast R team as well, for what has been an incredible performance here today. As I said, we're back on the British GT package on the 28th and 29th of May at Oulton Park. Be sure to join us then. For now, though, from TCR UK here at Oulton Park, it's been a fabulous day of racing. Really enjoyed ourselves. We'll see you again next time.